afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to We the People Prepping. This is Dan. Uh, Gonna actually get back to a little bit of prepping today. You know, a lot of people really don't understand what it means to be a prepper, and they think it's all doomsday and tinfoil hats and all of that kind of stuff. But prepping is a lot more than just preparing for a world event or anything like that. I mean, you've got you prepare for things like tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, but you also got to prepare for smaller things than that people don't regularly think about. Uh, just for instance, getting snowed in, driving in bad weather. I mean, how many of you out here actually are prepared to drive in bad weather? You know, like when the weather gets bad, like it starts snowing real heavy or we get ice on the road. There are times that you have to go out. I would prefer that people would play it safe and stay at home when that kind of weather, if at all possible, when that kind of weather is happening. But there are some circumstances in which you have to go out. Like me, I'm a truck driver. I have to be out in it, and for me, it's nothing. But my biggest problem is people in cars out here, driving when they don't need to be. A lot of people go out when they absolutely really don't need to go out. They just want to go. They create havoc on the roads. I mean, I've seen teenagers out here playing around on the interstates when it's snowing, being stupid. I mean, I've seen a lot of accidents because of that. I've had to avoid a lot of them, uh, but, the prepper state of mind should always be with you. You should always be prepared at any given moment for anything possible. Uh, just like when you're driving in bad weather, you should be prepared. Like if you come up on a semi, you should either be prepared to get the hell around him or back off and give him room, because these trucks are not the greatest in snow and ice. The wind grab a hold of the trailer on a slick pavement, it can actually slide my trailer into another lane. Uh, I've blown a tire before on the trailer, and somebody was driving too close to the ass end of my trailer, and the tread from the tire came through their windshield. These kinds of things happen. They're things you need to be prepared for. But if you're driving around a big truck, get around him. Don't hang out anywhere around behind him or beside him. And when you do go around us, don't just clear our front bumper and pull in front of us. Leave us some space here. Good rule of thumb for if you're passing a semi is to, when you can see the top of my semi in your rear view mirror, that's when you get back over into the lane. Don't pull over before that, because you're not leaving me enough room to stop if you have to stop. And when I've got 40 tons pushing me forward, it's pretty hard to stop in that short of a distance. Okay, so give me some room. Do yourself a favor. I mean, I've seen a lot of families get killed out here because people don't leave enough room. They cut back in front of a semi, then they have to slam on their brakes, and the semi doesn't have enough room to react, and it plows into them. And I've seen some pretty horrific ordeals out here. I've witnessed people being pulled out of their cars dead, all because of a stupid little mistake. But anyhow, back to the subject. Okay, when the weather starts to turn bad around my house, Well, I've always got a tent in the back in the trunk of my car, just in case the car breaks down. Okay, and of course I have my road flares, jumper cables, a little bit of tools. I've got an extra belt for if I broke the serpentine belt on the car. I've got the things to do minor repairs on my car, which is something everybody should have in their car. Along with your extra antifreeze, extra oil. You know, these are just the basics that you should have. But on top of that, during winter weather, um, you know, I carry firewood. Yes, I actually put about 6 pieces of split firewood in the trunk of my car. Okay. And I cheat. Okay. Yes, I have my bug out bag with me, but I also put a store bought fire log to start a fire easier. It's, because I broke down before and had to spend the night out in the middle of nowhere. So I have a tent, I have firewood, I have the fire log, I put cat litter out in the trunk of the car, I put a small shovel in the trunk of the car because I've been stuck in the snow. A little military style shovel, folding shovel, and some kitty litter can get you unstuck pretty good. One of the things I like to carry during the wintertime, though, too, is a come along. If you don't know what a come along is, it's basically a ratcheting winch strap where you don't need a motor uh, uh, power to it. You do it all by hand. You crank it, but it has a hook on both ends, and one end has a long cable with the hook on it. But I can take that and I can wrap it around something and winch myself out of a ditch if I need to. Which I've had to do once or twice before in the past because I was young and dumb. But you know, you should have stuff in the trunk of your car during the wintertime to be prepared. That's the whole point of being a prepper. Be prepared. You know, I have heat sources other than wood in the trunk of the car. I have a little camp heater that runs on butane. I keep it in the trunk of the car. I think I showed my other one in the live stream with Native and Devout. Uh, uh, it's just a little yellow heater, runs on cans of butane. Okay, and they're cheap. I mean, I got a case of them for like case of the butane for like $14. You know, the heater was only like $25. But I keep it in the trunk of the car, and it burns clean enough that all I got to do is just leave my windows cracked a little bit, not much, and it'll let out any fumes, but it'll heat up the inside of that car quick. It'll also heat up the inside of a tent really fast. Um, I carry some blankets in the trunk in cold weather. I actually carry them all year round in the trunk because you never know when you might need them. But I during the wintertime I also carry sleeping bags in the trunk of the car. You know, during the summer I'm not so much worried about it, but in the wintertime I need those 20-degree sleeping bags. But I carry Mylar blankets in the glove box. Carry road flares. You know, I want to make sure that I'm prepared if I break down out in the country or wherever, that I can survive at least 3 days out there. I need to make sure that I've got, I keep survival foods and water in the trunk of my car. And people always say, well, ain't you worried about the water freezing up and busting out? Where I live, it's not that cold to normally. I mean, I've got 2.5 gallons of water in a container in the trunk of my car right now, and it's not. It froze, but didn't freeze solid. But I also carry bottled water in the trunk of the car. Uh, but I carry emergency foods. Okay, so that you can't afford to carry, like the expensive stuff, like the Ready Wise and stuff like that, say that you can't afford that. Put ramen noodles and some camping cookware and stuff like that in the trunk of your car. That way you've got food in case something happens. But they also carry some lifeboat rations in there too. You can find those on Amazon and survival stores and stuff like that. Uh, I always make sure to have a backup knife in the trunk of the car, some backup lighters, just the things that I would need if I got stranded out in the middle of nowhere, to have enough to at least get me and whoever's with me through for 3 days. I mean, granted, generally I'm not going to be stranded that long if something happens, but just to be safe, you know. But here's another thing: how many of you all ever actually checked your spare tire in the trunk of your car to make sure that it's holding air, that it's not dry rotted? You know, this is something you should do at least every 3 months. Check it, make sure it's aired up, make sure it's not dry rotting. Uh, Make sure that your jack and everything's still in there. Because God knows I had a problem before with teenagers. My jacks would have a tendency to disappear out of my car along with my four-way. So, uh, but, but how many of you even pre-trip your cars? Check your car over before you get it and start driving out. I mean, I see people every day. They just come out of their house, jump in their car, start it up, and take off. They never check their tires. They never turn on their headlights to check it and see if their taillights and stuff's working. They never check the oil or the transmission fluid or any of that stuff. But as a prepper, these are things you should check every time, every day. When you go to get in your car to go somewhere, you should check these things. And a lot of people don't. A lot of preppers are guilty of it, and you can admit it. I mean, I'm guilty of every now and then. I'll go out, I'll jump in my car and just take off. I don't bother to check, and it's costed me before. I try to remind myself every time, that I need to check it over to make sure that it's mechanically sound. But every now and then you get in a hurry, you just jump in it and take off. I did that one day, and I had a low tire and I didn't realize it, and it blew out on me. So I wound up having to change it on the side of the road. But it was my own fault. I didn't bother to check. People don't think about these things. I mean, when's the last time that you checked to make sure your fire extinguishers in your house were good, or your smoke alarm, or your carbon monoxide detector? People say, well, you should do it every 6 months whenever the time changes and stuff like that. I say you need to do it every 3 months. How old is your fire extinguisher? When does it expire? And yes, they do have an expiration on them, because the powder inside of them can actually harden up, and you pull the pin on it and nothing will come out except the compressed air that's in there. If you have rechargeable ones, you need to have a hydrostatic test done on them every year to make sure that they're still viable. People just don't. These are things people don't really take the time to think about. But as preppers, these are things that we should be thinking about all the time, because these are things that we're going to need in an emergency. I mean, if you're not maintaining your car and something happens, a drastic event happens, and you get in your car, you get down the road 5 miles and it breaks down, well, then you're really screwed. Or you have a fire and your fire extinguisher doesn't work properly, or it's not where it was supposed to be. I mean, I keep several of them around the house. I keep 2 under the kitchen sink, 1 under the bathroom sink, 1 in my bedroom, 1 in the front bedroom. Just their safety precautions. I mean, as a prepper, this is part of being a prepper, is to be prepared for whatever comes down the line, whether it's something small or something large. How many of you have enough cash on hand to, I know that it's a hard thing to do, but to stick some money back and build that money up and have the money on hand to where if you can't get your money out of the bank, you'd be able to pay your bills for a month. Okay, you did, you don't have to do it all at once. Okay, just get started on it. Put $10, $20 back every payday. Just stick it back, forget about it. Put it where you know that nobody's going to mess with it. Just do your best not to touch it, and just do that. And eventually you'll have enough to where you'd be able to survive a month paying your bills without having to draw any money out of the bank. And then, just keep building on that. Actually, you know, uh, we've got quite a bit of money stashed around the house. I'm not sure exactly how much anymore, but we stash it just so that we don't have to put it in the bank. But I know that we can at least pay a month's bills with what we've got stashed around the house. Um, Hell, just in our change jug alone, I mean, we got a 5-gallon change jug, and it's got a lot of silver in there. I'm guessing, hell, we probably got $300-$400 worth of change in the jug. But that's just, I come in off the road and I'll have pockets full of change. I'll just drop them in the jugs, and we don't ever mess with it because we don't like to mess with change. But it's there if we ever need it. First aid equipment. Keep a first aid in each of your vehicles. And I'm not talking about just band-aids. I'm talking about tourniquets, large gauze, clot, blood clotting agents, stuff like that. Make you an actual medical kit to keep in each vehicle, as well as in your house, and of course in your bug out bags. People, I shouldn't have to tell you that one. Keep them in your bug out bags as well. Carry your tools. Uh, Tools are definitely an important thing to have in your cars at all times. I mean, both of the vehicles I have, well, one of them isn't even licensed. It's my bug out vehicle, but it isn't licensed. I figure if it hits the fan that bad, nobody's going to be bothering to try to stop me for expired tags or whatever. But I mean, it has medical supplies, food supplies, and all that. I have totes that I can easily that are already loaded up. I can slip them right up on top of the Jeep, strap them down, and go. Take me maybe 10 minutes, but I keep them stocked up at all times. But just stop and think what little things that you don't do that can actually result in something bad happening. Like I said, do you have an extra belt for your car? Do you have a set of jumper cables? Just the little things. If you're going to be a prepper, you got to see it through all the way. And a lot of people, when they think about prepping, they're thinking about the big stuff, food, water, shelter, all that. But you got to stop and think about the little things too, because those little things make a difference. Like in my preps that I stash different places. Yeah, I put a lot of beans and rice and stuff like that in it, but I also put a lot of seasonings in with them. Bouillon for the beans, like ham bouillon, so that I'll actually have some flavoring as well as other seasonings that I put in there, garlic and onions and just different seasonings, whatever flavorings you like. You should always put those in your prepper stashes as well, because trust me, you are going to get really sick of just plain beans and plain rice. We put powdered milk and powdered eggs, and I put vacuum sealed cornmeal so I can make cornbread. But I have the powdered eggs, and I have powdered butter, and I put all this stuff in with my stashes because just because the world's coming to an end or whatever's happening, I don't want to just eat bland foods. I want to have some actual flavor to it. these are just little things for everybody to think about, because the little things add up. They really do. You know, in your car, you should also have a portable, tire inflator, a little air pump. I don't care if it's a hand pump, a foot pump, an electric pump, that plugs into your cigarette lighter. I don't care. You should have something to air up your tires. Plain and simple. Carry a can of Fix-A-Flat as well. Just, make you a list of things that you should have in your car, in case of an emergency. I have enough food, water, and everything in the trunk of my car for 5 people to last 3 days. Okay? That includes sleeping bags. Yeah, it takes up a lot of room in my trunk, but my car has a huge ass trunk. Okay, I can fit 6 people in the trunk of my car. So I keep all that stored up against the back seat. That leaves plenty of room on the rest. I have a net that goes across, and it secures all that stuff in place so that I don't have to worry about it sliding around, rolling around. I keep a Coleman lantern that runs off of propane in there as well. These are just precautionary things. I try to be prepared for whatever happens. You're not going to be able to prepare for everything, but if you use common sense, you can prepare for the most likely things. There are unlikely things that will happen. They're not that likely to happen, but and you can't necessarily prepare for everything. But prepare for what you can. Be smart about it. God knows how many times I've rolled up on families stranded on the side of the highway because they didn't have a spare tire, and or their car was overheating and they didn't have any coolant to put in it. And I rolled up on a family of 5 before. They had a little itty bitty baby. Their car was broke down. I'm driving down the highway. I seen them on the side, so I pulled over in the big truck. I ushered them all into the sleeper to warm up because it was below freezing out. And, their car broke down. They had no way to get their car towed or anything. They didn't have any money. I took them to the nearest town, put them up at a hotel. I paid for their car to be towed. I paid for the repairs, which wasn't that much. It was like $270 or something like that to repair their car. But they had a place to stay for the night while their car was being repaired. Their car was repaired in the morning. I paid for it, and they were on their way. These people weren't prepared. They went on a trip, and they didn't prep their car. Okay? And it was bad weather. This was around the holidays. People do that kind of stuff. But they weren't prepared for the trip that they made, and their car broke down. And if it hadn't been for the kindness of somebody stopping, who knows, they could have froze to death, whatever. And if they just took the time to prepare, to make sure that their car was in good mechanical order, carry some extra cash with them, have some blankets in the car even, because those kids were frozen. These are things that I'm talking about. People got to stop and start thinking. Use the brains that God gave you. Prepare for anything that is a possibility that could happen. Okay, I'm not telling you to go out and, prepare for a zombie apocalypse, because, the odds of that happening are like 0.1%, But this has been Dan. I'll quit rambling here. This is Dan with We the People. If you like my content, please hit the subscribe button, share it, give me a thumbs up, ring the little bell icon so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. I will talk to you all later. God bless. Bye.